Hey guys, Soraka, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. Let's carry on where we left off. We've fallen into that classic Ace Attorney trap yet again, where we've practically revealed who the killer is. We've uncovered his nefarious intentions with Giselle Brett, given that he freaking stabbed her in the back. It's undisputable. But of course, a guilty verdict remains hanging over Ray Mbami's head, our client, because there's one thing we have yet to prove. One piece of the puzzle that has yet to be resolved, and that is how Giselle Brett ingested the poison, which was her true cause of death, unfortunately, so it doesn't matter that Manny Memo thrust a blade into her spine. We need to figure out how he poisoned her, because he's clearly the one who did it. We know that there was no poison on the knife, rather, it had to have been in the pen. It's not confirmed just yet, but I'm sure we'll get to it eventually in the next testimony. Right now, he's taking victory shots of the judge, it seems. That's great, that is! Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency! You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo, and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now, because that's Many-Memoism. I don't even know what Many-Memoism means, pal. But I'm sure Alchie will adopt some sort of philosophy like that sooner or later. For a brief moment, I thought I'd eliminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where's this trial going to take us? It's going to take us into that fountain pen in your pocket, Susato. I'm sure we'll work it out eventually. Just read that blue book of yours. Complete Innocence. There we go, there's our Allegro music. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman. And it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Because why would I bother to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. Oh, really? So, you're administering vigilante justice, huh? So, you admit it then, that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen. You can blame this miserable country of ours. Huh? A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it! I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Execute her. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. Stabbed, jammed it, thrust it in there, and twisted the knife. Yeah. Well, judge doesn't look impressed. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. So what, you're claiming all the credit of killing her, but you're trying to get away with murder. Is that it? You can't have your cake and eat it too, Manny Memo. That's right. You guessed it. Oh, that pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. If only we could get married in prison. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. Maybe he was just, doubling down on insurance, given that the poison was experimental after all. And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Ah, yes, it's all quite logical, even though I made no logical arguments. That's right, it is! Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last! It's justice for all, dickface. This is unbelievable. And after I've made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? No, he's not. There we go. Snap out of it. We're not giving up. Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stop looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Final cross-examination? I'll take that. Yes, Your Excellency. Alright, where do we even begin? I feel like we're going to need to press everything first, of course. Complete innocence. Yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman. It's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I bother to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? I had the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. Let's start with why you would have bothered to stab her if you'd already poisoned her. Maybe you were going for overkill, huh? So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously, it'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you're already wearing braces like these. You don't want to double down on that. You don't want to high-ride your pants. No girl wants to see that. The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. Stabbing a corpse doesn't constitute murder, you know. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel? Who knows? You may even learn something here today. I feel like you've learned 50 million things, Ouchie. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes? Quite a day for the victim. Yeah, she definitely had a bounty on her, it seems. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You'll reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness. Okay, well, it didn't score any brownie points with the judge. I thought he'd be like, oh, yes, exactly right, Ryutaro. And you know what? I'm going to pay more attention to your arguments. When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. What were they arguing about? Exactly. What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. A professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikatoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. She just flipped the finger and said toodaloo. Her case was to be heard by the British consular court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside, you can see it. I really fell for her, considering I'm projecting right now. Oh. Ray, is that you? Every time. I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray! Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whatever you feel like, and especially because you're a woman and women are allowed in this court, right? There's only one woman here. I think. I'm pretty sure. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony. Just keep quiet and listen. Be a good girl. You son of a bitch. But this awful man is making all of this up. Yeah, well, no. Could have fooled me, Ray. You know, I'm totally gobsmacked that he would make stuff up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen. Who? Who are you talking to? Susato? Is she in the gallery somewhere? Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. We can't trust the news. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom. God damn, that's a laundry list of insults. Whoa, take it easy there. What the hell, are you writing a column on me or something? It's a big list. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. You know, she's the defendant, for goodness sake. Even though she probably has the most reason to lie. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. But, Judge, please. Remember when I said that this is not the kind of court where we execute people?
I will grant the request of the defense.
But, Your Excellency!
Shut up! This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, Whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Wait, what? I'm speaking? I didn't prepare for this. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Okay, here we go.
It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
Go on.
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett could certainly add knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government.
Indeed. Yes, totally. Yeah, absolutely. All visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
That's true. I pestered Professor Mikatoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look at my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Ah, yes. Minimemo-san, one small question, if you don't mind.
I do mind, can't you see I'm busy?
Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably, then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard.
Hang on. I'm writing an article now, actually.
Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else.
Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, it's right over my head, that is.
Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word.
Well, Minimemo-san, well, let's see what she said, practically word for word. Right here, right? Following a lecture at Yume by Susato Natsume on 11th August, come to light the very disturbing incident took place. Deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science lab was stolen. The smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would be proved fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggested with this toxin. Apparently entirely new synthesis of alkaloids, rumored to have been commissioned by the military. Okay, so that's practically what they talked about. Interesting. Hang on, let me just review the court record again. What do we have here? This is the chemical reagent. Okay. We've already examined it thoroughly. I don't think there's anything left to look at. Okay, perfect. Just covering my bases. As a journo, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Minimemo-ism. It's -1 rule, that is.
Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut.
Okay, so it's information he gleaned by eavesdropping. There's a very good chance that he may have missed something, misheard something even. The details of the poison article have been updated in the court record. Reporter Minimemo-san based it on information he gleaned by eavesdropping.
So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stink. They smell fragrant, thank you very much. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record.
Oh, please do. Yes, anything you say can and will be held against you. Very well, you may amend your formal testimony. Is that it? I don't understand. The point is, if you'd poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well. Something about the statement. I feel like now's the time to present something, you know? Obviously, let's take a moment to review things. I don't think anything's changed in here. Maybe she wasn't dying quick enough. Maybe she was about to reveal something, but he was like, fuck it, the poison's not acting quick enough. I need to stab her and end it right here, right now. Possible? No? I mean, why else? It's either that or she poisoned herself somehow. But that goes against our narrative that Mini Memo here is responsible for her murder. Okay, well, let's just press it first.
Hold it!
I need more information.
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die.
That's horse dung!
What?
That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens.
I don't give a fuck about your goddamn eating habits. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that.
If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut.
Yes, that's undeniable.
But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation.
Sorry? What change?
The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishman.
Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Mini Memo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here.
Okay, I'm on the right track. If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable.
But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder.
If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning, I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for.
Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information.
Okay, well, we're going to present the article. Let's see here. Let me just go to my mind palace for a little bit. Honestly, I'm trying to think why he stabbed her after learning some information here. Is it because that the symptoms would be obvious? All right, I'm doing it.
Objection!
You learned about it.
Well, I can think of one reason.
What? What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin.
And there's one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Memami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison to Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Minimomo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have been imbibed. Well, she couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Mimbami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Minimomo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article. Namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ah. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. My mommy-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you. Right in, many memo?
There you go, I knew it. It's got too much of a signature, right?
It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learnt of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect,
and therefore the symptoms wouldn't appear and it would look like she wasn't poisoned at all. She was merely stabbed. And then you could put that blame all on Membami-san. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Well, we've run out of road, pal. Order, order, order! The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number. Yes, I counter completely. Objection!
Objection!
Shut up. The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his topknot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope?
Sorry. You're done. Oh, God. What's he figured out now? This is all a setup. Of course, it's a double bluff. Membami-san knew. She knew that it would be an untraceable yet traceable poison. And as such, she's using it as a cover because she's pretending not to be dumb enough to use it. Ah, you pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? I'm burgeoning some... I don't need a counter-argument.
What? What's he talking about?
This should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say? Who gave it to the victim, you say? Stabbed her, you say? Lots of fine theories, but how the fuck did I steal the poison in the first place, huh? That's what he's going to say, because everyone gets searched up and down. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Huh? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts, such as overheard dialogue. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Shoyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Yes, but you know, this also kind of exonerates Ray as well, because how would she steal it? Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. Very difficult, not impossible.
How's that then? Blowing the story wide open? See? I, write in many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. You said it yourself, I'm a lay person. I don't know what the hell's going on. I can barely tie my shoes. Ah! God, this guy's grasping at straws.
But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case,
The fact that if we fail proving it now, Ray somehow gets declared guilty is abhorrent.
as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
Annoyingly? My point is this. There is one way that you, Minimimo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question?
Take that!
I'm rushing into it.
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
Fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant?
These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now.
It's quite a while ago now. Bah! I swear by a weasel-hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. They'll never catch on.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soup can of substance ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye.
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have...
And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
Oh, that cocky pose of Susato. Damn, it's sexy. We got him! We got him! Take him away, boys! My word. Can this really be?
Well, Minimimo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
Gah! Oh my god, we're playing the Pursuit theme twice in one trial? What's going on? More absurdity, and that never happened!
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Minimimo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting...
The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example,
The witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim.
and when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
Really?
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself, and if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? A dumb one, that's what. No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you have to say in your defense?
So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve.
Ah! Oh gosh.
Oh, God, everyone's getting stabbed by a pencil. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist.
Objection!
Minimomo-san, this is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. As you so rightfully point out every single time to try and get away with this, something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Damn. She's ready to kick your ass, pal. Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle.
I believe it's going to be the reagent, right?
The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
A special indicator solution for a new poison under development by my father's team. It's been created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle?
This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
Ah! Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
A reagent? What?
What? What are you talking about? What's a reagent? One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Minimomo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No,
You can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Yeah! There he goes. Oh gosh. Oh, the hammer throw. This isn't my fault. The Empire joined me to this and hold its head high as a civilized nation, but back to its head for every power. I took over the pound bear, 4 times the battle, all the name of justice, righteousness, many memo. Susato with me. Oh yes, here we go.
I'm there.
Holy shit, dude.
I love it. That was great. Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a RYUTARO takedown. That was a RYUTARO takedown. I called it.
Damn. Well done, girls.
The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present.
Alright, let's hear a tragic sob story. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Minimomo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. You should have fled the country.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really? You must learn the difference between reporting and listening to at always, you ignorant plebeian.
What? What did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
Ugh. Damn. Arrogant bitch to the end. That's what I remembered about the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. You got trolled and you killed it. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit getting all fired up. Well, he's hanging. You know what? I don't blame you, dude. If you weren't gonna pin this on a poor innocent girl, I'd be on your side.
I'd like to ask you something.
Yes.
You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
I guess. There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was!
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset. Free woman. La-dee-da, singing Kumbaya. The only possible explanation is that, behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
Yeah, what the hell is that all about?
Oh my god, it's a conspiracy.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt, it was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. It came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Manimemo-san, that you committed murder yourself and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett.
What? It's true.
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
Damn, all that energy just snuffed out. I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Yes, that's me. Oh! Yes, ahem. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here. Definitely don't have breasts or anything.
It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, Naruhodo, Ryunosuke, you mean?
He only did one trial here, you know. The way you handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one. It gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. So long as there are no women in the courtroom.
That's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Ouchie, do you have any final thoughts? What's going on here?
Prosecutor Ouchie? I, Taketsuchi of the Ouchie clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today.
Damn.
Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! Rather than living on in shame. Oh no, he's gonna cut his finger. I mean, his growth. I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to ouchieism. No, God. It rivals many memoism. I told you it was gonna get all philosophical by the end of this. Ouchieism? One hopes that that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. Go on. It must be done. Sprig of my top knot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuchi. Oh. Ah! Do it. He did it. It's all gone. Scattered to the wind. Well, what a moving tribute. Oh gosh, even Osanaga's back. May you be at peace. Now, in regard to the defendant, Raymond Bami-san. Yes, Excellency? I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you... not guilty. Confetti! No, sorry, cherry blossom leaves. Where is it falling from? It's not an open court. Court is adjourned. We're done. First case in the bag. 13th August, 2:38 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant, antechamber. Damn, before 3 even.
It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing.
Her name's back.
Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Thank you so much! You were so dashing in there! Ray, and Father! Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry.
You're allowed to cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it.
I was on the verge of tears at the end too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I'd have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I'm the greatest defense lawyer, Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray. I haven't been paid my wages yet. You owe me my lawyer's fee, so technically you should be taking me to the milk bar. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. You're gonna have to ship yourself all the way over to England and flip over Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh my goodness, no, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. I couldn't even name the victim in the case, or the prosecutor. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikatoba now. So, I'll never see him again then? What a terrible shame.
What? Uh-oh.
What is happening?
Suseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga, I do hope you've been keeping well. Just thought I'd drop by and see my friend. I was in the gallery cheering her on. Totally.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Hopefully this doesn't nullify the verdict or anything. Susato Mikatoba.
I never thought I'd see your face again. I'm re-traumatized.
So dashing, so divine.
No. Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney.
You said the line. You said the words.
Poor Suseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was at a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Suseki-san was free to return to Japan.
I remember those folks on the jury.
And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less? I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're in one of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do.
Catching up on characters. Nice little refresher for us. For me, anyway.
9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. We don't think about that last part. But that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama?
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year.
Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it.
Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter. With Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. How could I forget that man? I don't think anybody could.
Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name.
I forgot that you two were rivals in a sense.
Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. A best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson.
What?
Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, I bet Long Strongheart is somehow involved in all this.
Somehow.
Then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
Iris. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
When returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
So you know something. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? Huh? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father.
Yeah, what is that all about? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then he just talked as if nothing had happened.
Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I could think of.
All in due time. You'll find out by chapter 5. Dear me. Do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato?
I guess we might be doing a Susato takedown after all.
I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't... Ah! Let me go! Minimemo, what the hell's going on here?
Minimemo-san. Say, one throw wasn't enough for you.
Come back for seconds. I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate.
Visiting student?
Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
What? Student of law? He must mean... Kazuma? Kazuma-sama? What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Ah! Holy shit, the judge! Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. I can't believe this. What the hell are you doing? Judge, are you Inspector Hosonaga cloned or something? In disguise? What were you officers playing at? Why do I have to do this? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. Good God. Judge, you've got a sprite. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Eugene. And it's a good job I came by. Some government secrets were almost revealed. Yes, thank you for dealing with it. And I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. I'm just Dave. I'm merely your father's friend, Seishiro Jigoku. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato.
You knew it was me all along. Did you? No, all along. From the start of the trial.
You tied your hair back. That's literally it. A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognize you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Seishiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Yeah, we're all in good spirits.
Whatever could Father be hiding from me?
I mean, Kazuma's name was mentioned in that telegram. That Morse code, right? At the end of the previous game. So what kind of conspiracy is going on here? A fake death, maybe? Is Dr. Wilson still alive? Is Kazuma still alive?
About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm going to have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around.
Go away!
Judicial Assistant Mikatoba-san Esquires, could I have a word?
Oh, yes, of course, Seki-san, what is it?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. Or they just didn't want to make a new character, so they thought they'd reuse assets. You see, there's something I need to tell you.
Oh?
I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
This I have to hear. Please, Saseki-san, tell me at once.
I will. After I get something to eat. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on the ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikatoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
So that's probably how he found out Susato was involved in shenanigans, and obviously wanted to recall her instantly.
My father. He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. No name. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in?
I don't really know exactly.
What?
But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in.
Of course, I could never forget.
Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case.
The second one? You mean the one Mr. Soames forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first.
Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings.
The case of the haunted lodgings.
That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
Oh god, I'm hyped up! What are we gonna uncover? What a pretty good setup for what's to come.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness.
Kind of.
And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But
We have to go
actually,
back! We have to
I'm
go
writing
back!
to you today because of another matter.
I'm shipping
I
off
met
tomorrow.
Sosek-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again.
Ooh.
Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again.
Please do.
Yours, Susato.
Although, you do have Ray. Who do we ship Susato with? I don't know. Well, please tell me you're gonna go back to England, Susato-san. He needs you there. Where is case 2 gonna take us? Susato's success.